Jeremy Hunt, he indeed was out speaking this morning. Did you see it? There was quite a few things to get into, basically. He was talking about the 4 E's. He was talking about people getting back into the Labour market. He was talking about what he calls the declinism of the Labour Party and beyond, people basically pulling the country down, talking it down. Lots of positivity. Now, you can pick whichever angle you want, whether it's lowering taxes, the 4 E's, the positivity, whatever you want. Yeah. What was your thoughts on it?
Well, I want us to be a lower tax economy. I want us to allow individuals to have more of their own money to spend it as they choose, rather than having the state take more of it and choose how to fritter it on our behalf and then expect us to be grateful. So it's a double-edged sword for me, because on the one hand, I understand what he's trying to do. I can see that it's all part of a message to society and to the markets, to different audiences, but the same message, that things are calm and stable, and that you don't need to worry, as the Truss Kwarteng budget made people concerned. But if we are going to have tax cuts, and if you don't, you've got to wonder what a Tory government is for, especially given, our state's consumption of GDP is at its highest ever level now, then you've got to wonder, when are you going to do it? So I understand he's urging us to keep the faith and to say tax cuts but not yet. Well, I understand that. But if not yet means the next quarter or two, all right. If it means the next year or two, not only will it have a really bad effect on our economy, I think it'll mean the Tory party's toast at the polls as well. So he's got a pretty narrow window, in my view.
Paul, your thoughts?
Well, tax cuts generally, I think, tend to benefit those who have wealth to begin with more than poorer people. And I think the priority at the moment, particularly given the state of the economy. Look, I mean, I could go along with targeted tax cuts for the poor, for the poorest sections of society, have no particular problem with that. It strikes me that actually the priority at the moment, as we're about to head into a potentially very long and very deep recession, is to get real wages rising. Because I think the last thing you need to be doing going into a recession is reducing people's disposable income. And with people up and down the country at the moment having to suffer real terms pay deductions, which so many millions of workers are doing, I think that's going to have a really negative impact in terms of the overall economy. Because what's it going to do in terms of demand in the economy? What's it going to do in terms of growth? What's it going to do in terms of, increases in unemployment and businesses closing and folding and so on? So, we can skirt around the edges and talk about, should we tax cuts, should we cut tax here, should we cut it there? But it seems to me the really important thing is to get people's wages up, to get their disposable income up, and to try to, at the very least, temper some of what will be the really damaging and acute effects of the oncoming recession.
There's an intake of breath there.
No, only in enthusiasm in some ways, because I think we may disagree less than you think. I want to point out that what you're talking about is a flip side of the same coin. There is very little benefit in wages going up if the taxman then takes the difference. And disposable income is, on the one hand, yes, boosted by people having higher wages. It's also boosted by the taxman taking less. And one of the things we've had at every level of income tax is a fiscal drag, where the state doesn't raise the level at which income tax goes up on different brackets, including the lowest, at anything like the same speed that we see inflation taking force. So the taxman does every bit as much to harm your belief, your accurate belief in the importance of disposable income as wages do.
I think the danger is, if you take the argument to its logical conclusion, that actually all tax essentially is, in terms of income tax, it's always going to be harmful, then you make an argument really against having any sort of income tax at all. Now, I know people on the right will always invoke the Laffer curve, won't they? They'll say that you get to a point where actually the tax take becomes at such a level that you end up reducing your tax revenues. I think that's been largely debunked broadly, the Laffer argument. That isn't to say, of course, that it would be wise or judicious for any chancellor to whack tax rates up to really punitive levels. You go back to the 1970s when Dennis Ely, as a Labour Chancellor, talked about taxing the rich until the pips squeaked.
98%.
I don't particularly believe in those punitive levels of taxation, and I think you do get to a point where you think, hold on a second, am I really working for the state or am I really working for myself? But nonetheless, we're in a situation, Alex, where the economy is fundamentally unfair. There are some people in society, predominantly the wealthy, who did very well out of the pandemic. In the last couple of years, we've seen city bonuses surging. We've seen executive pay rising handsomely. We've seen some of our corporations registering record profits. There's been a transfer of wealth in this country from poor to rich over the last couple of years. And how do we address that? One of the things we've got to do in terms of addressing it is to have a progressive taxation system where the rich do pay more. But we've also, I think, more broadly, got to talk about the whole structure of our economy, the fact that we've allowed the real economy, the productive sector, to wither on the vine, the fact that we invest so much in financial services in the city in this country, but we're quite happy to see deindustrialisation on a vast scale and thousands of factories closing and blue-collar jobs moving abroad and so on. It strikes me that nobody, and I include the Labour Party in this, by the way, nobody has really got a handle on that or any idea.
I agree on the last part about the Labour Party, but you're conflating, in my view, two issues. The first is that there's been no incentive for a generation in this country to invest in the kind of things you would want to see to improve productivity. That is to say, training for individuals on the job, better wage rises for people who are proving to be good at their job so as to incentivise them to stay and wish to do and to go further, and better technology and power in the workplace, because we've had ultra-low wages, because we've had a market in which we've basically had a free-for-all on migration and people coming willing to work on ultra-low salaries.
And an overvalued currency.
Something on which the Labour Party had no answer, certainly on the immigration point. But you're conflating that issue, on which you and I might heartily agree, with a good old-fashioned soak the rich. Having first said you weren't interested in it, you then went on to soak the rich.
Maybe
entirely.
You, but not the rest of them.
Well, I'm not sure I qualify. Certainly I don't qualify with the top 1% who pay 30% of all tax in this country.
Top 2, maybe.
And what we've seen, 1.5 then, but what an interesting quibble for you to therefore yield the main point. What we've seen this week with the new tax rich list being published, the guy on the top of that list pays £487 million in tax.
One?
A guy he's renounced his Russian passport, denounced what Putin does, and as a city trader, which must make him a bad guy in Paul's books, contributes to the exchequer circa 12,500 teachers' wages, one individual.
What's he worth, Alex?
I want to have what's it worth? I want to have more of them.
What's he worth?
I don't know. He paid 487 million pounds in tax in a single year. So yes, I think his firm's worth about 30 billion, but I don't know what his other personal wealth is.
Why? What's wrong with that?
I want to have more people like that. You want to have fewer.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
I don't believe in societies or economies where there are vast disparities in wealth between rich and poor. And in fact, I think that.
Why not?
Because I think it causes all sorts of problems within society. I think it causes.
Do you mean jealousy?
No, it's not about the politics of envy. It's simply saying that, if you're a cleaner or if you're a health worker, or if you're someone who works on the line in a factory or something like that, and you work in a 45, 50-hour week, then actually, you're working hard to the best of your ability, you're contributing to society. If you see, and you might at the moment particularly be struggling to pay your mortgage bills and your energy bills, worrying about putting food on the table and so on. And if you see actually that there are individuals within society who may work in the city and play the stock market and do all the gambling and the casino stuff that obviously Alex thinks is really valuable and productive, you would probably get quite angry that these people are earning money that's in a different stratosphere.
But the stock market's open to all, isn't it? You can trade a five.
Well, in theory, Michelle.
No, not in theory, in reality.
If you've got a pension, you're investing in the stock market. You've got a pension, Paul?
Well, I've got an occupational pension.
Yeah, where does it invest?
Well, look,
stock market.
But you know what I'm saying, Alex. The average person who happens to have an occupational pension is not playing the stock market every day, not directly.
But they
Come on, let's be sensible.
But they could do. If what you're saying is, look at all these rich people that play the stock market, and then you're saying then you've got these cleaners that work 50-hour weeks and all the rest of it. It's not theoretical to say that if you want to trade, you could start with a fiver.
Michelle, if you seriously think that a cleaner working a 50-hour week and earning the minimum wage and may have kids to bring up has really got the time or the inclination to go and play the stock market, I think that's fanciful.
So we agree that society has a duty to the very worst off. Where this then becomes, in my view, slightly unhinged from the discussion in your perspective, is that your dislike of the ultra-wealthy applies so much that you'd rather there weren't more available to the state as long as they didn't exist. Now, I'm completely relaxed, to use Peter Mandelson's words, in those people becoming filthy rich, as long as they pay their tax and they contribute more to the system. You wouldn't. You'd actually rather the poor are poorer as long as the gap's smaller, right?
What you're doing, Alex, is relying on the old trickle-down argument, which is to say that, look, what we do is we roll back the frontiers of the state, we have low taxes, we allow the already wealthy to accrue even more eye-watering amounts of wealth, because what will happen is that money will eventually trickle down to the poorest. We'll all get a few extra crumbs off the table, and society will be the better off for it. Actually, it isn't true. The evidence shows that it simply isn't true. The only way to rebalance the economy, the only way to make sure that some wealth goes to the poorer, is the poorer sections of society, is for government to intervene through the tax system.
With a long way of saying your answer is yes. You'd rather the poorer are poorer as long as the gap is smaller.
No, absolutely not. I think
the envy in you is so significant that you would rather, as long as you can get rid of the ultra-rich, you'd rather lose their tax production.
Well,
right?
if you're going to say the rich should hold the country to ransom by saying if you tax us any more, then we're going to take our capital abroad, we're going to take our money abroad.
But why wouldn't you do that? If someone said to you can set up a business and you can pay 10% over there, or you can pay 50% whatever over there, of course you would. Any sensible person would go over there.
Isn't it funny though?
And you would, if you were honest.
But isn't it funny how?
Would you pay less tax legally if you could?
Isn't it funny how when someone, well, hold on, when someone's in that situation where they're threatening, a rich person, a corporation is threatening to move their operations abroad because the government's going to tax them a little bit more. We never talk in terms about them holding the country to ransom, do we? But the minute a health worker or a firefighter goes on strike for more money, they are holding the country to ransom.
Answer my question.
Why the
very
inconsistency?
Quickly. Would you pay less tax if you legally could?
I think if it was an aggressive tax avoidance scheme, which was unethical, no, I wouldn't.
If you could, on a normal, reasonable level, if you could legally, of course you would.
If it was ethical,
just a quick reminder, by the way, top 20 taxpayers in the UK last year, just to give you an insight here. The top one, he paid, as we're just saying, 487.4 million. The next one, down 460 million. The one after that, 392 million. The one after that, 263 £1 million. There you go. That's it's not bad work if you can get it, is it? Give me your thoughts on that last topic. Where do you stand on it? GBViews at gbnews.uk is how you can get a hold of me tonight. I'll take a quick break.